Hello, I'm Susie.
And I'm Lisa, and this is the Coaching Cast. We're the no nonsense podcast chatting about the things impacting you at work right now, helping you to survive and thrive in today's ever changing workplace.
We discuss different topics each episode, sharing our ideas, hints, and top tips from our experiences of working in the corporate world, running our own businesses, and also being qualified coaches. We also try to have a few laughs along the way too, because taking yourself too seriously is just boring. And we hope you enjoy listening. Jingle, jingle, jingle here, Lisa. Thank you. In today's episode, we're discussing how to be assertive alongside sharing our top tips for you to take away and try for yourself. So stay with us and enjoy. Jingle, jingle, jingle. So before we get into today's episode, Lisa, how are you today?
Yeah, I'm not too bad actually. I woke up with a slight sore throat.
No.
I thought, oh no. And I thought, now is this the annual cold? Because it is that time of year. It's normally around this time of year. It's due. It is due as well, Susie. It is due. The last time I had a cold was around this time last year. So it's about that time. And so, yeah, I did wake up with a little bit of a sore throat and I thought, oh God. And then obviously, we're still in a COVID era. So I then jumped to, or could it be COVID? So I was literally lying there like, oh goodness. And actually, weirdly, once I got out of bed and started moving around, it sort of miraculously disappeared.
Oh.
So I don't know what that was. Maybe I was snoring really loudly. I've got a raspy throat.
Maybe, but yeah, hopefully it isn't a bug of any description.
I don't think it is. I think it's fine. I don't feel ill either, and that's always a good sign. But yeah, the sore throat is gone now. Nothing that a few coffees can't fix. But I suppose in the words of my mother, I probably have been burning the candle at both ends. So it could be
right. Here we go. We're getting to the real crux of the issue right now, aren't we?
I did quite a few trips into London last week. So I went to London for Dom's birthday, my husband, Wednesday and Thursday, and then just by coincidence, one of my best friends had her 40th, and that was on Saturday. So I went back into London on Saturday. Lots of fun was had. It was great. So yeah, no, it was really good. Had a lovely time. But I've got this question for you. I want to know your thoughts on this subject. I feel like you'd be a good person for this.
Okay.
What are your thoughts on pleather?
On what?
Pleather.
Pleather.
Like fake leather.
I was like, what are you talking about?
They probably call it vegan leather these days, but it's always been pleather in my head because it's essentially made out of plastic, hence pleather. I've assumed anyway. I assume that's why it's called pleather. What are your thoughts? Is it a yay or a nay?
I think it depends. I've got some pleather leggings.
I thought you might have.
Yeah, which I normally style with a long jumper and a trainer of some description.
Like it.
But I think if you go like pleather top, pleather bottom, pleather shoe, like that's a bit much.
So Matrix.
Yeah. And also maybe, slightly like overwhelming for those that you have gone to like interact with.
Yeah. Okay, fine. That's a little bit like slide on, slide off.
Yeah, exactly.
Or in my case, peel on, peel off. I described, so I've got a pair of pleather trousers. They are a wide cut trouser, so they're not a legging. Yeah, they're not a legging. I'm very pleased with them. I bought them last year. They were my first step into the world of pleather, and actually I've been toying with the idea of actually buying a pair of leather trousers, but leather trousers are so expensive, and I thought I'm going to step into pleather first because that way I can see whether I like this idea or not before I then go and spend something stupid on a pair of leather trousers. Anyway. And I was wearing them on Saturday. Now, every time I wear them, I do have this debate, a bit like what you've just said, actually, about like, what do you wear them with so that you get a bit of a balance? Because otherwise, I think it can go very wrong. So I have a rule that you can't wear leather or pleather or whatever you want with any form of animal print.
Yes.
Because it's just too cat slater out of EastEnders.
Yeah, it is a bit much. Yeah, I would agree with that.
So that's definitely one rule I have. But I didn't wear it with leopard print on the weekend. Don't worry.
What did you style it with then?
Well, I styled it with a white t-shirt and a statement belt.
Okay.
It sounds very Trinny and Susanna. A statement belt.
It's very Gok Wan. Yeah, I love
it. Yeah.
I feel like we're on this morning.
That's exactly what it sounds like. And a nice necklace and some trainers, actually. So I quite liked what I styled it with, but then I looked at some photos and I don't know whether I just look a little bit too like Michael Jackson. There's something about a white t-shirt, isn't there? White t-shirt, maybe it was too, I was quite impressed with this white t-shirt as well, because that was a new purchase, because me and one of my fellow mates have been trying to build our capsule wardrobe. I feel like this is a buzzword at the moment. Yes. So I'm trying to buy classic items that I can wear with everything and that will last a lifetime. So I invested in a decent white t-shirt last week. So obviously I had to wear it, but I don't know whether wearing it with the black trousers was a good idea. Anyway.
Okay.
It was either a bit Michael Jackson / waitress. It was weird. Anyway, I also described myself to my mates as a black pudding. As in, when you get those black pudding sausages, I looked a bit like that, I think. Anyway, I might not repeat that outfit. I will repeat the trouser, but I think I need a different top.
Did anyone say anything to you?
No, but my mates are really nice. And it's not like you're going to say to your mate, don't know what you've wore there.
Well, no, only because if I'd gone to leave the house, it's because I know this, like if I'm in an outfit which is a bit different.
I see what you're saying. Yeah.
My husband, Steve, would be like, what is that you're wearing? And he'd be like, no, that suits no. That looks like it's come off Instagram. That doesn't, like, he'd say that doesn't suit you.
Oh,
like, he would like be like, no. Because I've bought a pair of wide-legged jeans. So like they're not flared at the bottom, but they're a bit wider. And I wear them with my high top Converse, like over the top.
Yeah.
So like a similar type of style, but they're not pleather. Obviously, they're jeans.
Yeah.
And I had them on the other day. With my standard mum bun on my head, because actually I have my hair down today.
I know, it looks really nice. Have you had it done?
No, actually needs cutting. It's all like,
I thought it like you've had it done.
I've literally just brushed it. That's it. That's all I've done. I was like, can I get away with that?
Yes, you can. The magic of the brush.
Yeah. I'll take it. I don't know what the back looks like, to be clear, but that's fine. You don't need to see that.
No one cares. No. I mean, everyone listening to this will be like, don't care either. But
so yeah, I had a standard like member, and Steve was like, I know what you're trying to do because I've seen people on Instagram wearing this type of outfit. I was like, where are you seeing this? He's like, but I'm not sure you can quite pull this off. And I was like, oh, thanks. Like,
wow.
Wear what I want to wear. Thanks very much.
Did invite your opinion, but thanks.
To be clear, I wore it anyway. Like, I didn't actually change.
Good for you.
That's the dynamics in our relationship. I'll just do what I want anyway. But yeah, he would have called me out. So that's why I wondered if your friends had said anything to you.
No, they didn't.
So this is a dread of, or a fear that's coming internally from yourself.
Yeah.
Like, reflecting back on the old dreaded, I hate pictures.
Yeah, I know. Oh, well, actually, I did share some of the photos of the night out on my Instagram page.
Yeah,
yesterday.
I did see that, but I don't think I saw your whole outfit. So I saw you wouldn't have top.
Yeah, you wouldn't have seen me top to bottom, but I mean that's quite rare because I really don't like a full length photo at the best of times. I always pull some weird pose. Like, for some reason, this always happens in every exercise class that I do when they insist on taking a photo at the end. For some reason, I feign a mid squat, so I bend my knees. I roll my shoulders forward. I'm very wide shouldered, and then I thrust my pelvis out. It is the weirdest thing, and it's literally like it's triggered by, my gym instructor says I'm going to take a Greek photo, and I just go into this weird I don't know why I do it. I'm like one of the broadest, curviest females in this class. I'm all thigh and shoulder, and then I go and thrust everything out. Honestly, it's so weird. I'll have to try and dig one out, but my friend took one weeks ago, and I said to her, that's going to look terrible because I don't know why, but I just thrust it in the photograph, and it was it was abysmal. She posted it anyway, and we just laughed about it because luckily I don't take myself too seriously, but I mean it was terrible. So full length, I don't know what to do with anything.
I'm awful at posing full length. It's like, I mean, I never have any opportunity out. It's not like I'm being papped when I leave my house or anything. Like, I know I don't live that far from Oldley Edge, but they're not papping me, to be clear. But I would have no idea. You know, when you see like people on the red carpet, again, I'm not booking any red carpets anytime soon.
I don't know how they do it.
They are just so perfectly posed. They must have lessons. This is
100%.
the conclusion I've come to. Also, I remember I watched a lot of reality TV.
You do.
So there's a lot of housewives. There's a lot of but they don't really pose on Below Deck, actually. There's a lot of Kardashians. They, you know, they are the queen of posing. They know how to pose right for their body shapes. I'm always like chin too high or chin too low. Like I've never like the right, even when we record this podcast, sometimes I'm like, what is that? Like this view here is like way too much on the upward look at the chin. Like, so I never get it right. So I am totally with you on this. God. I feel so awkward. Like, but then there's other people like my friend Katie, who's a big fan of the podcast. She's got a great Instagram page. She's an absolute pro at a selfie. And I'm like, teach me how to do it, because I just look like a...
No. Yeah. See, I'm not too bad with a selfie, as long as it's just this bit, you know, my face. But I can't, any full length shots. Yeah, I don't know what to do with my limbs. And I think as well, I'm probably overly sensitive to the fact that I do think I've got very broad shoulders, and I'm generally quite tall compared to other people. I mean, I'm not that tall. I'm 5'6" and a bit. It's not that I'm not like 6 foot, but I think I always am paranoid about looking like the biggest, and then it goes to shit then, because it gets worse. I just do awful poses, and then I look like some hunchback of Notre Dame. So it's no good. But yeah, so no, you wouldn't have seen the full length from Saturday. Yeah. But no one said anything. I mean, I even said to Dom, does this look all right? And he went, yeah. I mean, he would be saying, no, it didn't.
Well, there you go then.
But then, you know, one of my favourite outfits is this big pink dress that I have, and he thinks it's vile, which he tells me every time. And every time I put it on, he's like, ugh, you're not wearing that awful dress. I'm like,
oh, I know which dress you mean, but I don't think it's vile. I really like it.
Oh, I love that dress.
It's quite poofy, isn't it?
It's really poofy.
Yeah, I love it.
I think it's really amazing. Cool. I love it. I wear it in the summer. I wear it all the time.
Yeah, I know which one you mean.
And he's always like, it's awful. And I'm like, don't care what you think. I think it's amazing. And actually, it is a dress for girls. Every girl I know goes, oh, I love that dress. You look so nice in that dress.
Yeah,
like,
you
thanks.
Do.
But it's the sort of dress that a bloke just goes, what the hell is that? So yeah, I had one of my best mates, her husband never understood a one shoulder. That was always that we used to have. That was quite funny. He just didn't get one-shouldered things. So my friend Katie never really wore a one shoulder, and if she did, it was to spite him, I think. But yeah, never got a one shoulder. Whereas I quite like a one shoulder. It's quite.
I like a one shoulder. It can be quite flattering, I think. Not that I've worn a one shoulder for a while. I mean,
I haven't since the noughties, to be fair.
Capsule wardrobe at the moment mainly consists of gym leggings, a t-shirt, and a sweatshirt. That's it. That's all I live in.
Well, it's very now. It's very now.
It's very capsule. I would say that for sure. Anyway, on that note of capsule wardrobes and fake leather trousers, should we get chatting on today's episode?
Let's go.
Jingle, jingle, jingle here, Lisa. Thank you. By the way, I can't believe Dave has lost all our episodes. I will follow up with him.
Has he actually though?
No, but I think that's where we're going.
Oh, I mean, how do you lose them all?
Exactly. Anyway,
he's fucking useless. Well, if he has, he's nailed his coffin there.
Yeah, I'll follow up later. I'll keep going until I get him to admit one way or the other. Anyway, right. It is a common misconception that assertiveness means being pushy, difficult, rude, or disrespectful of others. Being assertive doesn't need to be any of those things. Being assertive just means valuing and communicating your point of view in a way that is clear and direct, whilst still respecting others. This approach, both at work and in life, can reap you many benefits, but it is an art to perfect. Knowing how to achieve that balance between being aggressive or being assertive takes practice. Research has also found that women tend to show less assertive behaviours in the workplace versus men. Gender stereotypes and social conditioning of how we're all expected to be and behave contribute to this too. So, Lisa, in your experience, what would you say are traits of an assertive person?
So I think to address this topic successfully, for the purpose of this podcast, it's right to stay away from the stereotype and the
Absolutely.
what not to do, because I think, even I will admit that when I hear the word assertive, I think my first thought is to go towards the negative side of that, and then I move to the positive. And I don't know whether that's just ingrained in me because of personal experience of the bad side of it. But I
Oh,
think,
interesting.
but I think it's also both in terms of the bad side of it, where I've experienced it in the more aggressive stance, as you've just like covered in the summary there, and also I think where I've been trying to be assertive and either I've got it wrong and it's created a bad reaction, or where actually I feel like I've just been, actually I think the word I would say here is gaslighted. So where actually I've wanted to assert myself and I think I've done it successfully, but because simply the other person didn't appreciate that, they've then tried to criticize me or belittle me, or, you know, essentially not appreciate like my point of view or appreciate my perspective or opinion on something. And I think that's probably happened more in the workplace, where then it definitely plays into that issue that I think us as females still have around this, which is being criticized for it. And that whole, like we've talked about before, where as soon as we adopt any form of slightly male trait, it goes against us. But I think the positive side of assertiveness, and when actually a person is being assertive and being assertive doing it well, it's when they're really clear. So I suppose this is my trait, I suppose, that I would say about people, is when they're really clear about their wants, they're really clear about their opinion, and they're really clear about their boundaries. I think it's that real clarity of thought that is so crucial to being assertive successfully, because I think actually there's a confidence that comes through with that as well.
Yes.
And I think that confidence, though, that can only come from really knowing yourself and really knowing, as I said, exactly what you want, exactly what you will and won't tolerate, what's important to you. So that's how I would describe being assertive, and being assertive in a very positive way, because it is positive. And I like the fact that the way you set this whole conversation up is to remember that actually there is absolutely nothing wrong with being assertive, even if others are making you feel like there is.
Yeah.
Because fundamentally, a lot of being assertive at times means saying no or pushing back on other people. So it's not really that surprising then that at times you're going to get a reaction in response of some form of negativity, because that other person isn't happy with your stance, isn't happy with the response they've got. But I suppose that's why I say that term gaslighting. I think that's where people are then very guilty of turning it on you, as though to say, you know, that you're wrong and you've created that. And it's like, no, you just don't like what I said. That's not the same thing.
Yeah.
And I do think a lot of us, it's interesting because I've seen this a bit on LinkedIn recently, the whole word no. A lot of us are not very good at delivering it because we don't feel comfortable to, because no immediately goes into that negative sense and we don't want to create conflict. So the problem then is being assertive and saying no takes confidence and self-belief, as well as, I think sometimes as a recipient you have to accept it,
Yeah,
not fight against it.
definitely. Yeah, I have been called assertive before. I'm not sure if I am. It's hard for me to kind of I suppose conclude on that. I think I am. I think I do have some assertive traits in me, both at home and at work. And sometimes I think I do that successfully, and sometimes I think probably I don't. Well, I know I don't. And when I can give you an example of how I use that sometimes in my work. So I work part-time because I have my little boy for a day and a half a week, and I've started working with potentially working with a new client. And going back to the piece you were saying before about asserting your boundaries, we were kind of having some email communication around doing some training and some onboarding. And there was some like discussion around days of the week that might happen, and they happen to fall on days of the week where I have my son. And I don't have any childcare locally, like my parents don't live nearby. I don't have anyone to kind of just have him, so it is on me. And so I had to be quite assertive around my boundaries and my communication, that you know, I can be flexible on these following days, but unfortunately on these days I have my son and I can't you know, change that. And don't get me wrong, I did some tinkering around on the language before I sent that email.
Yeah.
But people have said to me, someone quite recently is like, you are quite assertive around your boundaries. So I will be very honest and quite upfront of like, I don't work these days, but I work these days. And that is still being assertive. You're not being rude about that. No. You're just asserting your kind of, I suppose, your reality and your current situation in a way which is telling people quite strongly, but not in a rude way, because I'm not being rude in the way that I'm saying that. But there's definitely an assertive approach in that, because I'm stating it and I'm doing so with a confidence. And that's kind of really what we're talking about here. And I think I get that sometimes if your experience has been when you've done that and then people haven't reacted that well to it, there can be then a bit of an overhang around doing that and finding the right way of doing it for you. And I think that does take time. And like I said in the intro, it does take practice actually around thinking about what the right way of doing it is, and the right balance. I mean, I think one of the key things for me around the difference between being like rude and aggressive and being assertive is actually your ability to listen. I think if you can go into a situation, and this doesn't have to be a conflict situation or where there's going to be disagreement. This can be any situation where there is a discussion or some decision making or whatever it might be, you know, and you can go into it thinking, okay, I absolutely need to state my point and state my view, but I also need to listen to what this other party or this other person has to say at the same time, and create that space without interruption to do that. You are also, by just doing that, demonstrating assertive behaviors, because you're holding yourself and behaving in a way where you have control. And that for me also is one of the traits around being assertive, is that you can conduct yourself in a way where you don't kind of lose it. And when you do start to lose it a little bit, which we all do, that is normal, but then that's when we start to fall into that space around it becoming aggression, potentially, but it becoming rude. And that's not what we obviously want and what we're talking about here.
And I think that's true. I think it's, if you want to be able to assert yourself successfully and to do that in a way that you want it to come across as it's intended and to be received as positively as it ever can be, because you don't control the other person and their reaction.
Yeah, absolutely.
100%. I think there is that piece, as you've just, I think, explained, which is you have to support, therefore, other people to have space and to hold space, and to therefore encourage them to be assertive too. So to share their opinion, state what they need to say, and in turn create their boundaries too. I think it has to go both ways. And therefore you're encouraging a culture of assertiveness where actually everybody has the right and the ability to say what works for them and to say what they think in a confident way. Because I think where it tips at times and can go into that aggression and the rudeness, as I think it does sometimes have a bad rep of being, is when people move into a place of defense.
Yes.
And I think actually that happens, I think, at times when the space hasn't been set up for people to feel safe and secure to actually say what they think. And where, as you pointed out, I think where people haven't respected one another to say what they think and to do that uninterrupted and to be listened to. Because I think when you don't feel like you're being listened to, you fight for space to speak.
Yeah, absolutely. We've all done it. We've all experienced it.
Yeah.
Like, you know, if you think about a time where you've reacted really strongly and maybe you have responded in a moment, reacted. We all do it. It's because when we feel like 9 times out of 10 we're not being listened to properly, and we're not having that opportunity to talk without judgment.
Yeah, and that control piece, like you said, and be in control of things. But I think yeah, if you're trying to go to a defensive position and assert yourself, that's where you have to be really disciplined around your language and your tone. And because I'm not saying that you will never be in those scenarios, of course you will be.
Absolutely.
And actually that is often a very appropriate time to assert yourself, but it's just, if you want to do it in a way that's successful, that is where your discipline comes in usually. And as you said, you try not to lose it.
Absolutely. So why do you think it's important to demonstrate assertiveness in work sometimes?
I think it comes back to your boundaries, because in work, especially when things are fast paced, fast moving, a lot going on, it's very easy to become swept up in it all.
Yeah.
And to all of a sudden be in a position where you could be an overwhelm, where there's just, you've got too much going on, you're trying to carry too much, you've mismanaged expectations around what you can actually deliver. And potentially it could be in relation to even things you don't necessarily fully buy into or support. And then actually that can start eroding in on your values, your thoughts, beliefs, ideas, things that you think are right. And I think actually it's so important in a workspace to be really clear about actually, what will I do and what will I not do? Like, how can I help my colleagues, my team, even the whole company to get the best out of me? Actually, to do that, you need to assert yourself, to make that clear to people, to explain, so that actually you are supported to be your best. But I think it's also so important as well to recognize that you have a big contribution to make, not just in the what you do, but the how you do it and the ideas that you offer. And you can only do that if you're creating some boundaries to give you the space to think, and then asserting yourself by offering it and sharing it and speaking up. So I think it's hugely important. I think that's how you can make your best contribution to what you're doing and enjoy it, and also get growth and development for yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. And like, expressing yourself is so important and at work, and is absolutely what we should be doing, voicing our views, our opinions, our thoughts, but doing so in a way which is effective. And that's really where that assertiveness piece comes in for me, is thinking about, resolving things, especially in a situation where there may be conflict, or a situation where there may be differences of opinion, resolving things in a way which for me is just in a calm manner. And I keep coming back to calm, I know that, but I think from my experience of being assertive, and also talking to people who are really good at being assertive as well. And I do work with some people, especially at the moment, who are very, very good at being assertive. And so actually they're like real role models, because I learn such great stuff from them.
Yeah.
And I would say that when I was thinking about it, like, what do they do? When I was thinking about it in prep for today.
Yeah.
I kept coming back to that piece around, they just have a really calm manner about them. And that brings, like, when we talk about, but then you look at body language, that kind of brings, I suppose, a very confident person to the conversation. There's like a sturdy confidence inside, which is like, I know my thoughts, I know my opinion, I know my view, and I'm not worried or concerned about expressing it. I'm just expressing it in a very clear and calm manner.
Yeah.
That was it when I kind of thought about what it was that they do.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think, it is an art form, and I do think it takes a lot of time to practice, but it's absolutely like achievable in doing it, and it actually gets you great results when it goes well.
100%. Yeah, it really does. It does the opposite if you get it wrong.
Yeah. So based on that, then, how can we ensure we are assertive, but we don't fall into being rude? Because that is when it can go wrong, isn't it?
So I think I've learned. So, okay, I'll paint a picture for this. Often, historically, I have been described as blunt. And that is because I'm being assertive, which is actually what they mean. But because of the delivery, it's blunt. Now, there is an element here. I am going to hold my hands up because some of this comes from family members as well. There is an element of here of who is your audience and how sensitive are they to you?
Yeah.
Now, those that have consistently called me blunt are family members. Now, that is a different dynamic of a relationship anyway.
Yes.
And it's a lot more sensitized. But knowing the individuals as I know them, they are also very sensitive. And so I think they will always see me as being blunt, when actually I'm being clear. But I think I will hold myself accountable to say that has got to be an element in there of my delivery. And I think this is what it all comes down to. And I think you've articulated it there with celebrating the individual that you know at the moment who's delivering assertiveness really successfully. And that is because of the manner in which they're doing it. So I think the starting point has got to be, you've got to be really clear about what you think.
Yeah.
Because you can't be assertive unless you're clear on that. So, for example, when I've been in a meeting with a group of people and a topic is being debated, to get the clarity of what I think, I write it down. So I am a pen and pad fanatic. So I will write down what I think first so that I've got it on paper and it's clear in my mind. And it also gives me the chance to adjust it if I want to, if it's not quite right. But I will write down what I think. And I have learned, this is a trained learning, to listen to others first, as you've been describing, Susie, because my natural instinct actually is just to talk. I am an extrovert. And I've had to train myself to be a listener. Especially with coaching. That's a skill that I've honed since I started my coaching training 7 or 8 years ago. So I have learned to listen, because actually it benefits me hugely in that I learn from other people. I get a balanced perspective from other people because it helps to inform my own. It actually gives me a lot of space to think. And it stops me from jumping in, because otherwise I can be quite reactive. So actually just forcing myself to listen to other people and give some space to other people helps me actually to settle myself. So I do find that really helpful. So I've written down what I think, I've given the floor to other people. And then when I've seen that there's an opportunity to speak, then I've spoken. And it has taken practice to really manage both my tone and the words I choose, especially when I feel like I may be saying or offering an opinion that is different. And I think, I've only been able to then manage my tone and the language because I've given other space for people to think, and then I've used that as a time to digest actually what I'm going to do.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But that's an example in a meeting setup. I've been in some very high pressured meetings before, whether that be with colleagues or with customers, actually. And the rule for me is exactly the same, probably even more so with customers, because it's important to let them speak and listen to what they think and give them the space to do that so they feel like they've been heard, because it helps a huge amount with value. But then I think that's probably true internally too. But that has always been actually a technique that I found extremely helpful, especially in those meetings that have been a lot more intense or highly emotional, where even potentially you've encountered a very emotional character who is driving the emotion in the room, because I'm sure we've all been there with that one.
Yeah, I definitely have.
But I think that's always enabled me to then be able to say, do you know what? I feel confident in the approach I'm going to take. I feel confident I can assert myself here. But it does come back to what you said, which is that control. Because as soon as you don't have the control in yourself, I think that's when you step very quickly into defense, aggressiveness, rudeness, abruptness, blunt, which is, as I said, a bit of a trait of mine sometimes.
Yeah, I think what you said there about clarity piece is key, because I think clarity does breed confidence in any respect. When you are clear around your thoughts, your view, your opinion, or what your view of the situation is, or whatever it might be, but when you are clear on anything in life, and also in work, we are then just naturally more confident in the way that we communicate it and talk about it. And there is absolute power in thinking, okay, you know, what do I actually think about this? Why do I think that? Is there opportunity to, you know, get clarity from that other person in that conversation so that I can understand a bit more about and get clarity from where they're coming from as well. And I think that kind of leads into what I would say around this piece, which is around like thinking if there is a joint solution. And, you know, I know that can be quite hard to do in the moment, but just something as simple as being like, that's my thoughts, what do you think? Opens up the conversation to firstly be more collaborative, which is key, but secondly is you're still asserting yourself, because you're still saying, this is what I think, so these were my thoughts, i.e. this is what I think. Okay, I've done that now, so what do you think? What's your view? Like, yeah. And that's how you do it in the moment piece. And it does just take practice about being able to do that without thinking about it. Of course it does. But once you get going, you kind of get into the swing of it, and it becomes more natural, definitely. I think that's a great way of, you know, managing that balance of not, you know, falling into that camp of rudeness, because as soon as you start doing that, people pick up on it instantly. I do, of course we do, because we're intelligent people most of the time. Yeah. We can see straight through it. You get people's backs up, and then it goes off into a whole different space.
Absolutely. And I think the key thing here is, look, I know a lot of what we're talking about for some of you may sound a little bit scary, or actually maybe a little bit challenging. So the stance could be, actually, this isn't for me, I'm just not going to try. But I strongly encourage you to try it, because it's so important that you represent yourself and that you value your contribution, and realize how important that is to any scenario that you're in, especially in a work environment. You know, you're there because you've been employed to be there for your skill set, your experience, your knowledge, and the contribution you're going to make. So if you're being valued in that way, you should acknowledge it yourself. So whichever way you do it and however you do it, make sure that you do, you know, represent yourself and offer. And don't be afraid to do so. Just give it a go.
Just give it a try.
Yeah, you'll learn from it, whatever happens.
Absolutely. You know, I'll either go really well and you'll think, I've absolutely done this and this has got me some great results, or it'll go absolutely awfully and you'll learn from it and you'll think about how you'll do it differently next time. So yeah, it's not as scary as it might sound. Like, just give it a go, CBBiz. It honestly is an approach which I am a big fan of, and you know, I think can get you great outcomes, that's for sure. So let's think about then, so leading off that, what are our top tips for our CBBs about being more assertive at work this week?
So I think they have to be, for me, that create the space to clear your thoughts and be really confident about what your views are in that moment, regardless of what it is. So be really clear about it. I said about writing it down, but I think that's got to be the first thing you do, is know what you actually think. And I think the other tip I would have is really consider your words and your tone. There's a famous saying that says the response you get is essentially the meaning of what you said. So I think you do have to really think about the words you use and the tone to get the reaction and the response you're wanting.
Yeah, that's a really, really important one, definitely.
And then I actually liked what you said about asserting yourself very simply by saying, that is what I think, what do you think? So that actually you're keeping it in that collaborative space, and what you're not saying is, that's what I think, the end, drop the mic. You're opening the space for it to be collaborative and to allow other people to actually assert themselves too, which is what we said about role modeling. I really like that.
Yeah, no, definitely. Okay, great stuff.
Cool. It's now time for Bullshit Bingo, where we call out phrases which get commonly used in the workplace which make us both cringe. Our bullshit bingo for today's episode actually came from one of you, our CBBS, from Instagram, and it is, let's put a pin in that. What do you think of this one then, Suze?
Oh gosh, let's put a pin in that. Firstly, who even owns a pin?
Good
It's
point.
a valid question, to be honest
not
with you.
me. I used to have a notice board as a teenager and I loved it. It's like a collage, but I haven't had a pin since then.
I certainly don't have some form of sewing kit. I probably should.
Oh, I do have a sewing kit actually, but I don't have any pins in it.
Do you? Do you have a sewing kit?
Yeah.
I would not think of you as a woman who would have a sewing kit.
What is that? What do you mean? If a button falls off, I need to sew it back on.
Would you?
Yeah.
Oh, I would just take it to the lady, the seam's just down the road.
What, for a button?
Yeah. 100%. Oh gosh, maybe I need to like learn my skills here.
That's hilarious.
Buy some pins so that I can put a pin
Well, actually,
in
it's not a pin, that's a needle. You need a needle to put a button on.
Exactly.
Well, this is not going well anyway. Last week it was you can't ride a bike. Now you don't even know how to sew. Honestly,
how do I survive life?
I don't know. Thankfully, you've got a woman down the road apparently who sews a button on. I mean, that essentially is my mum when I'm at home, but no.
Jenny, she's very nice. Anyway,
plug to Jenny.
Plug to Jenny. Let's put a pin in that. Never used it.
No, I've never used it.
Have I heard it? No, I don't think I have heard this one actually used at work. No. This is a brand new one to me, but I can see how this is a good one. Like if it's being used at work, you would be like, pardon?
I'd laugh. The problem now is I don't know if I can ever go back and work full time in the corporate world or any business actually. Actually, that's not true. I'm open to all good contracts and work offers. But I just mean in terms of now, because of the bullshit bingo feature, every time anyone's going to come out with one of these, I'm just going to laugh out loud. So it's not appropriate now. I mean, I wasn't that appropriate before, but I'm even worse now. God.
I know. We are getting some good ones, actually. People really do love this feature, and we are getting some good ones. So we've got some really good ones the rest of the season, definitely. So keep them coming, guys. We need to hear them. So you can drop us a DM on Instagram at The Coaching Cast, or you can send them to us on email at hello@thecoachingcast.co.uk. Keep them coming. Jingle, jingle, jingle here, Lisa. Thank you. We are coming to the end of today's episode where we've discussed how to be assertive. Our top tips and recommendations from today.
Thanks, Marley. Is he finished?
Someone's at the door. We are coming to the end of today's episode where we discussed how to be assertive. Our top tips and recommendations from today's episode are: number 1, be clear about what you think and what you want. Remember, clarity breeds confidence. Number 2, consider your words and your tone to get the response you want. Calm is key. And number 3, remember these words. This is what I think. What do you think? That brings an air of collaboration to the conversation. Here are some self-coaching questions which you can also ask yourself. Number 1, when was the last time you were assertive? Number 2, what were you doing, thinking, saying, and feeling when you were being assertive? Number 3, who do you know, who is assertive? What do they do that you could learn from? Don't worry if you can't remember all of these. All of our top tips, recommendations, and self-coaching questions will be on our Instagram page at The Coaching Cast this week.
We hope you enjoyed today and have some new ideas to take away and try for yourselves. If you have any questions, thoughts, or feedback, we would love to hear from you. You can contact us in 3 different ways. You can contact us on email at hello@thecoachingcast.uk, on Instagram at The Coaching Cast, and finally you can contact us through our website www.thecoachingcast.co.uk.
Your support helps more than you know. So please, if you like what you've heard today and would like to help us grow this podcast, do us a favor, leave us a review on the Apple Podcast app. You've got no idea how important these are. Hit subscribe wherever you listen and give us a follow on Instagram at The Coaching Cast. Don't forget, you can also watch each episode on our YouTube channel by searching for The Coaching Cast. We both love music and use it to motivate and energize us. So we like to finish each episode with our personal song recommendation, giving you positivity and energy as you launch into your next meeting. It's my choice this week, and I've chosen a new orchestral version of Love My Life by Robbie Williams. He's got a brand new album now, and it's all orchestral versions of his classic songs. It's really good, and I got this from Radio 2 because I'm obsessed with Radio 2 as well.
I love Radio 2. I also hope that Robbie Williams is listening and appreciates the free publicity.
Absolutely, absolutely. Thanks for listening, CBBS. Remember, have a great week, and you've got this.